Alright, so I wanted to touch base. I haven't recorded in quite some time, but last week I had a really interesting week for the first time in a while. I've been divorced for a couple of months now, and yeah, living on my own, making it work, all that good stuff. Last week I had my first opportunity for getting a gig through Nextdoor, where I answered an ad for someone who wanted some outlets changed out due to the color scheme. They wanted their outlets, outlet covers, light switches, and also taking out their cable and landline connections and just covering them with a blank plate. So they wanted this in two different rooms. And they also wanted two bathroom fixtures switched out. And cool, we came up with a price. That was all good. I got there, and she told me that she got some quotes that were 4 times higher than my quote, which it was kind of ridiculous, which she thought so just as well. And when I got there, she asked what else I did, and I was giving her my background of what I did as a career. And she's like, no, honey, what do you do within a home? And I was like, oh. And so I just kind of ran down a list of things, and she ended up needing more work done, so she tacked on fixing her towel racks that her uncle put up with only one drywall anchor, so they were very loose, and tacked on 2 bathroom sinks and the drains that were involved. So overall, it was 2 days worth of work. And this was my first real activity. I mean, I've gone fishing, but fishing is pretty much just walking, and not even that much walking, but, standing for the most part. And, this was getting up, getting down. And I had broken my leg back in February, so I've had a stress fracture on my leg, and getting that healed up. And this was the first time in 2 months, 12 weeks, I don't know, something like that, that, I had physical exercise, and it wasn't even exercise, but it was getting up and down, kneeling down, bending over, things like that. And man, was I sore on Monday. It was crazy. And so I made some friends, made some friends with them. I was supposed to go back and do a mirror. This mirror is like, it is wider than I am tall, and freaking heavy, but it apparently fell off their wall, so I'm sure I could just do it with some TV mounting drywall anchors. But I'm supposed to go out and do that and hang a couple of mirrors for them. It was really funny because I walk in, and it's a 2-story house, about $450,000 house, and you just smell weed as soon as you walked in, and it was a good smell. I mean, don't get me wrong, but just ignored it. Not a big deal. Didn't mention it. Didn't want to relate or anything like that. But when I was getting to the electrical work, of course I needed to figure out the breakers, and I asked her where the breaker box was, and she's like, oh, let me show you. And we stopped at the garage door, and she's like, now listen, it's going to smell like weed out here, but it's all my husband. And so I'm like, I smelled it when I came in, it smells good, don't worry about it. And we went on our business, and she went off to some church activities, and husband was there, but husband just let me know he was going to be smoking out and hanging out, and if I needed anything, just to let him know. I guess he didn't offer because he wanted a job that was a sober job in his house, so I could respect that. Anyway, so that went on. That was a cool gig, good experience. I thought the pricing was fair. They thought the pricing was fair just as well. Next day, couple of days, something like that, I answer a call, not a call, I'm sorry, I answer a Nextdoor ad. A gentleman says that he's a veteran, and he's struggling with his mental health, that he was struggling with some inner dialogue, and couldn't get over himself, and he was wondering how people got through that. And so I chimed in, and having some experience in that throughout the years, chimed in, let him know that 2 things that kind of helped me was that I think 2 things. One was the parable of the horse, where who knows what is good and what is bad, and I had the link to that. Oh, the other one was trying to find a baseline in joy, because everyone chases happiness, but happiness doesn't really exist. It's just what you chase. But you can always sit down, even if you're in the worst of moods, or you're the season in your life is bad or what have you. You can still sit down and enjoy a meal. You can still enjoy music. I mean, there's still joy there. There's a baseline for joy, even if you're unhappy. So I think happiness is one of those things that people just chase and can't ever figure it out, because I don't know what there is to figure out in that. So anyway, commented on that, and he DM'd me and asked. He gave me his number and asked if I could go ahead and call him, because he wanted to talk to me more. And I was like, yeah, sure. And called him. And as soon as I copy paste his number in my phone and hit dial, the weirdest thing, it comes up as David from Craigslist. So I had spoken to this guy already. I had spoken to this guy like 2 weeks prior, because, like I said, I was going through a divorce and I was trying to figure out a place to rent. And he had a ad in Craigslist for a crazy cheap rental and near me. And he even said that he was willing to barter if our experiences matched or what have you. And so I wrote him in Craigslist, and this was kind of upset me, but I told him to give me or email me back, message me back. Let's set up a time, because I worked in a small office at the time and everyone was nosy, and I just needed to actually schedule that call back or step away or what have you. And this dude calls me like at 8:05 in the morning, like on a Monday or Tuesday, something like that. And I'm like, dude, what's up? And he was asking me all these questions, like how much I made, what I did for a living, stuff like that. And then he told me that he had a lot of properties, and some were vacant right now. And he could certainly go ahead and rent me out a room, if not the whole thing, and he would do like an Airbnb type situation. But still, for one room, he wanted like $1,000 for one room, and I was like, you can find them a lot cheaper than that. So of course I wasn't going to go with that, but I let him know that that's kind of out of the range that I was looking for. And he told me that we still needed to keep in touch, because he was an entrepreneur and wanted to start some things, and I have. When I was telling him what I did in the past, I do have a background in helping small to mid-sized businesses implement software, and reviewing and coming up with a structure for strategies to scale businesses with that software. So he said that we definitely need to get in touch, because he does that and whatever. So I was focused, on getting the hell out of my situation and into a different place, so didn't think much of it. Weirdly enough, I'm calling this dude back, and we start talking, and I let him know this, and apparently through his Nextdoor ads that he does, and I didn't know that all these were related, but I saw another one of his ads like 2 weeks prior to that he wanted to use some of his rentals, and was keeping his rentals empty on purpose, because he wanted to start doing group homes, because he was a senior, and he was going to get to that age where he was going to have to be in some kind of situation and where he would need to be in a home at some point. So he thought, doing a group home would be the way to go. And of course, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's a kind of a cool idea, whatever, and just went on. Didn't think anything of that again. And then I started putting these pieces together when we were talking over the phone, and we went in depth a little bit more over the phone. Talking about Dr. Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, stuff like that, and just talking about different things. And He was like, well, hey, if I need to get in touch with you, can I just go ahead and give you a call at any time? And I'm like, yeah, man, sure, whatever. That's cool. And he's like, well, hey, I have an appointment that I have to go to because I'm going to be looking at a home to see how they're structured and how things like that go. But after that, I should be free. I'm going to go ahead and give you a call this afternoon. I'm like, oh, cool. So sure enough, like at 4 o'clock, he calls me and said, hey, what's your address? I'm coming over. I'm like, whoa, hold on, dude. And he's like, oh, we can meet somewhere. And I was like, yeah, we'll meet somewhere. So we ended up meeting at a Starbucks. But we talked for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And it was primarily, when we got there, it was primarily about him wanting to open up a group home and how to get that done and stuff like that. But through that, I was like, well, hold up, because he mentioned that, this is what he does, is that he's a serial entrepreneur who retired. He ends up being 53, so not quite a senior yet, even though he labeled himself as a senior, and says that he's been retired for the last 20 years because he got into insurance and started going into rental properties, and then just started doing rental properties from then on out. But he does all the work himself because he got under the mindset that he needed to do all the work himself, and he shouldn't spend the money because that's how you gain wealth, is by keeping a hold of your money. So he still does all the repairs, he does the lawns, he does everything that needs to happen to his properties. And he says, I know I could outsource this. I know I can get people to do it, but it's just my nature. And then he looked at his pants, and he was like, I can't even spend more than $30 on a pair of pants. And he was talking about how he could, feel bad or feel empathy for people. And if he had some kind of skill set that he could go ahead and, or wanted to learn a skill set, that he's put people through school, giving them a truck, giving them tools, so that he could work. Or so they could work for him, but he can do things of that nature, but not spend money on himself or within the business if he knows that he can do it himself. So he was having a hard time with that struggle of trying to get past all of his routines and being on automatic pilot and just trying to relax and enjoy what he's already built. So cool. But he told me at this point with his idea for the group homes that he has 9 available properties. So I don't even know how many properties that are occupied that he has. So it was kind of crazy. I didn't even ask that part. But we're supposed to be getting back together. I'm supposed to be doing some research on what's going on, because he told me that I could certainly go ahead and live in one of these facilities, run it. He would pay me. And we just need to go ahead and then he also, like I said, was interested in my past, and that I would be in charge of the marketing part, and I could still do all my marketing stuff that I wanted to do, because I was just going to be in charge of running the home, not anything medical or anything like that for the group home. So now I'm digging into that a little bit more too. So that was weird. That was like, it was kind of weird that I just opened myself up like that. Oh, sure, let's just go meet at Starbucks. That was an experience. And having a conversation with a complete stranger. But, yeah, it was cool being of service, trying to help people out. All that good stuff. This past week I had 2 people actually match with me on a dating site that I'm on, which was cool. So we started talking. One of them wasn't that great of a communicator, so I just kind of stopped altogether. And the other one had some interests of that I can appreciate, that line up with my interests, stuff like that. But it's kind of weird. I was having my kid was trying to talk to me, or trying to lecture me or something to that effect, because he's like, did you ask her? I was just giving him the rundown. Don't want to go into great details or anything, but I was giving him the rundown, and he's like, well, did you ask if you could help her? I'm like, dude, we hadn't even talked yet, over the phone. We were just texting right now. And he's like, so how else are you going to meet her? And then I was thinking to myself, man, have I gotten this far behind? Am I that far out of the dating scene where, people's attention spans are to the point where everything has to be like rushed? Or, is it, my kid was telling me to stop acting my age. And I was like, well, shit. I mean, not only have I been married, or in, long-term relationships throughout the years, but I don't have a lot of dating experience. And, you know, how do you figure those things out, I would assume it's, person to person type situation. And if people are introverts, then that's going to be a little bit, or taking a little bit longer than if they're not, and kind of, play it by ear. But I don't know if that's something I have to learn and just pick up the pace, or, what the deal would be, but kind of weird. So I was scrolling through things, and I saw something that would help me. I read something that said, if you're wondering if they're interested in you, then just the fact that you're wondering means that they're not interested in you. So, made complete sense. So I think I'm going to stick with that advice, and, let things fall as they may with, this dude that I met, with these people that I met, or texting, things like that. Then I answered another ad on Sunday, yesterday. And it was a student that said that they were a student, and they got access to a free washer and dryer. This is through Nextdoor. They got access to a free washer and dryer, but they don't have a truck. And they just needed help with picking it up and getting it delivered. And I asked, from what floor to what floor. So it ended up being a house to a second-story apartment, which is cool. All right, whatever. We agreed on a price. And I helped them out. And they had just moved from Florida. And they're a younger couple, even younger than my kid. But they were a younger couple trying to get all their stuff together. The male just graduated and moved here from Florida because of a job, and she's still in school. Yeah, so it was a great opportunity. They really appreciated it. The guy learned a lot because he was, new, being on his own, stuff like that. So. Ended up, after we agreed on a price, and then he was like, well, you were so generous, so I'm just going to go ahead and give you more money. I was going to go meet my kid for dinner, and he ended up more than doubling our actual price that we agreed upon for picking up and delivering and installing the washer. Maybe he was only thinking that it was just going to be a delivery or what have you, but so we spent about 2 hours together. But yeah, I'm supposed to send him my resume because he works for Wells Fargo, and he told me when he was a programmer, and I've been in SaaS, and so he was like, "Hey, forward me your resume, and I'll go ahead and see what can happen if you're interested, if you're looking for a role." So I'm like, sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we're supposed to get back together again as well to follow up on his washing machine installation, because I didn't know this part because I was just the middleman. I was just the delivery dude. But there was something wrong with our washer door, and I was like, oh yeah, if that's the case, then before we put this in, take a picture of all the stickers on the back, because that's where your model numbers will be, like that, stuff like that. And you can certainly look that up on YouTube and order the parts off of Amazon, and you're good to go. So I'm sure I might be a part of that, just as well. Yeah, so I don't know, just putting myself out there, being of service. I met someone today online, just as well, that I used to rub shoulders with quite a bit. I used to referee for the Dallas Derby Devils, Dallas Derby Devils, which is an all-female flat track roller derby league. And we were talking back and forth, and then she was like, "Man, but you really look familiar." And I'm like, I'm not sure where we would have crossed paths at. And I was like, "Oh, well, unless you were a part of the roller derby scene." And then she told me her skate name, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I was Chuck Taylor, and head ref in my last year that I was there." And she was like, "That's it." And I totally didn't recognize her because when I knew her, she had, different glasses, different hair. And, of course, usually we were all geared up at the time, with helmets and padding and, all that type of stuff. And, shit, this was like between 2006 and 2009 that I was a part of the Derby. So quite a time ago anyway. But it was kind of cool. So I think we're catching up right now, or it seems to be that we're kind of catching up. And I don't know. I mean, things are kind of opening up. Things are kind of flowing. I'm having, more time with my kid and his family. And yeah, it was just a really weird... Oh, there was another thing. So I've been interviewing, trying to get another position, and also trying to get my marketing company up off the ground. So I've been doing, this past week I did like 2 different seminars, one for building websites and selling the websites as a foot in to the other offerings that I have. And the other seminar was, and these were webinars, like one was a 5-day webinar and one was a 3-day webinar. Sorry, so not seminars, but the other one was programming your AI chatbots. So that's going to be really helpful. I'm going to be doing that soon. So you actually train a chatbot, and they could just you train them to absorb all the information either on your website or other websites, or compile data that you need them to know. So like so they can have conversations with your customers without you being involved, and then you can certainly go ahead and then view those particular conversations and chime in whenever you need to. But yeah, if you're a solopreneur or in a position where you can't get to the phone all the time, then the chatbot would actually help, and AI would serve that purpose. So did that, and then I had a couple of interviews with an insurance company because I wanted to get into a sales role so that I could sharpen my skills or learn the skill set for my marketing agency to actually sell. And I got involved in a couple of interviews with this company, and it's kind of weird because when you and I found this out with a couple of different insurance companies, but when you interview with them, there are like 3 or 4 different names that are actually involved that you have to you have to check out each individual name, because there's the name of the company, then there's the name of the insurance supplier that they don't tell you about until later down the road, and then there might be a couple other businesses that are tied in just as well that has to do with recruiting, and that's the people that reached out to you, of course. So you kind of think that that's the actual company, and it's not. So sometimes there's like 3 or 4 different companies involved, and if you're not careful, then yeah, you could be getting into something that you don't want to get into. And so anyway, I interviewed with this company, and it was really cool. It was Globe Life, so a lot of people know Globe Life. They boast that Globe Life's partnered up with the Dallas Cowboy Stadium, because it's a Globe Life Stadium. With the Texas Rangers. So they're all over the Metroplex here. So that was cool, I mean, get you sucked in really quick, and the insurance was supposed to be through, or you're supposed to insure union workers. And they stated that the union workers have already signed up for benefits, and they're actually looking for more information on all the additional benefits, like attorneys and pet insurance and things of that nature. And then on my last interview on the first set, on the first company that I interviewed with, is when I started seeing more of these businesses unfold and are available for me to see. And so, of course, I'm going to research each one of these things. And one of them was a company with the initials that go by AIL. And so I do a YouTube search, and there was a guy on there saying that they're a legit company, and they make a lot of money, that they certainly can, and legit insurance. They are with Globe Life, and all that is true. But the problem is that the people that you're talking to haven't agreed to learn about more benefits. What they've actually done is signed their kid up for the Amber Alert system. And that's how you gain their information, is through the information for the Amber Alert. And he said, so, you could take that as either a good or bad thing, or, or a neutral thing or a bad thing. Not really a good thing, I guess. But then he said it's going to be kind of hard or more difficult to sell a bait and switch, which, sure, I completely agree. And then it just seemed kind of shady. I mean, why would you get that information? I mean, I don't know how other people get leads. I'm sure, you sign up for leads secretly all the time if you're entering different situations and supplying your information. I'm sure you're giving your information to lead generations of some sort. But yeah, that just didn't sit right with me. And then I had another interview with a different insurance company, and then, I guess between my second and third interview, I found out it's the same company, just a different branch. So that branch had a totally different name, so I didn't know it was the same affiliation. And then I got reached out to by a solar company. And I was like, hey, listen, I just had a door-to-door position that I had to quit because I broke my leg, and I was told I shouldn't go back into the field. And they were like, oh, well, okay. Well, you could certainly be in management and, manage those people. So let's set up an interview. I was like, okay, cool. Did that, but didn't hear much about it after that because I had a Zoom meeting set up with the CEO. And at the time of the Zoom meeting, he calls me instead and says, hey, I'm walking my dog to the dog park. Let's just do this over the phone. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. He's like, give me about 5 minutes to get to the dog park, and then I'll give you a call back. So we had a conversation. I kind of went back. He wasn't a great communicator either, or at least didn't lay out a lot of things where I had to ask, like, what do you mean? to a lot of his things, and then he had to explain a lot of different things that he was talking about. So that made it kind of awkward, and I just didn't hear back from that guy. And this week, which was weird, out of nowhere, I get a text saying, hey, we're going to set up this first interview, and it's the solar company, because it came from the same number from the solar company. I was like, that's weird. So, sure, let's go ahead and do this. Well, I sign in, wait for a little bit. I got put into a room in Zoom. No one shows up, so I signed out, signed back in, got into a different room in Zoom, and no one showed up. So after 15 minutes, I just shot them an email, and I said, hey, listen, I waited for 15 minutes, no one showed up, don't know what's going on. I get this apology email, and anyway, we schedule it for the next day. Someone is in this room this time for the Zoom call. And in the beginning of the call, he was going to start his pitch or whatever, go into his explanation, and I had my notes from the time I was talking to the CEO, and I was like, hey, do you know Kevin or the lady who was a recruiter? And he's like, no, I'm not familiar with them. And then he told me it wasn't the same company because they do everything remotely. And I was like, oh, okay. Then he goes on a little bit more, and it's the same damn company that I already turned down twice for the insurance. I'm like, what the hell? My phone said solar. And so anyway, I listened to this guy out. I knew that these first interviews were, 5, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever they are. But they were pretty short. So I was just going to get through it and just not follow up because I wasn't interested in this bait and switch type thing. But then I look at my phone, and it's crazy because when I looked at my history, it had the first company, the second company, and the solar company all under the same phone number. And I did read it correctly, that the solar number was the last thing that was there. And they were the ones trying to give me the Zoom meeting. So really odd, really odd. And then on Monday, too, when I was trying to get over my soreness from that first work that I did for that lady, I had an interview with Ariat, that boot company, Western Wear, because they're close by. And this company actually reached out to me. And I don't know why there was a recruiter that reached out to me. And I had an interview with them, and that was kind of strange because I was picked up, taken upstairs. It was a shipping warehouse, so I had to badge in. People had to badge in 4 times to get in through the doors. And I was picked up, taken upstairs, and then dropped off. I wasn't even picked up by the person that was going to interview me. And there was one person in this big glass room and behind a laptop. And I look over, and then there was 4 people on a Zoom meeting. And so I had this 30-minute meeting where I answered all the questions, without skipping a beat. And I thought it went well, but I was really left unsure because they weren't very friendly. It was kind of a cold situation. So I was just left unsure. And I was told the next day that my interview went well, that they appreciated my time and all that good stuff, but they thought I was overqualified. So I was like, damn it. And then yesterday I had another interview, and they told me that this interview was an hour and a half, an hour and 15 minutes, something like that, which was really cool because usually the interviews are just cookie cutter interviews. Can you do the job, that we're expecting, and not getting to know you, but this one was a little bit more, and I asked about that, and it was the guy who would be my supervisor, so he was actually taking the time to see if we would be a good fit, and he told me that I should be expecting a call earlier this week after the holiday for a second round with the store manager, and for that, and that's going to be a sales position as well. So my whole thing is I either need something that's going to meet my my needs, all of my what do you call it? What do you call it? My break even, I guess. My break even. So that's going to cover all my bills. If it doesn't cover all my bills, then it should be supporting all of my skill sets that I need to improve on. And that's the way I'm looking at it right now because, I could always get side gigs or work through Nextdoor or what have you if I need to. But that's not something that I want to do, especially coming from SaaS and having a comfortable income and stuff like that. But I just feel like I need to go ahead and get my bills taken care of before I start trying to dive deeper into my marketing thing. And I can't figure out where that's coming from because if I don't dive into my marketing thing, it's never going to go anywhere. So I'm trying to figure that struggle out within myself, trying to get that balance. Then I know I'm taking steps forward. It just doesn't seem like it's going fast enough for me. And I'm hoping that if I can just make sure that I have something secure enough to pay my bills, that it's not going to be a worry any longer. And maybe, that's the fix. Maybe that's the answer. But as of right now, it just seems like I'm purposefully stalling, in which that's what it kind of feels like, because I don't want to spend a lot of effort if it's not making money right now, and then spending more money into it if I have to, when I really need to be focusing on getting a position that's going to pay the bills. So right now I'm caught up on all my bills. I mean, I haven't been late on anything, and I'm paid up on my rent for a couple of months and stuff like that. So I made sure all that stuff was done. So I'm prepared. I'm not being irresponsible or anything like that. But I just knew it was coming, and I knew that I needed a cushion for myself, and made sure that I had that. So I don't know. That's kind of my update. Kind of a weird week. Kind of reflecting on a lot of different things, and yeah. All right. Talk to y'all next time.